Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to Sign for More Injury Funding, the podcast for all who want to learn about legal funding and its significance in the personal injury, trucking law, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, dog bites, and many other types of law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all suffering individuals. More Injury Funding is a sponsor, member, associate board member, or business partner of this podcast, Georgia Trial Lawyers Association, Academy of Truck Accident Attorneys, Sandy Springs Bar Association, Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, Georgia Association of Paralegals, Atlanta Legal Aid Society, State Bar of Georgia, St. Andrew Rowing Club, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Georgia Council of Chiropractic. In today's episode, I have two special guests with me today, Camille Stell and Brenda Barnes. Camille and Brenda are co-authors of the book titled Respect: An Insight to Attorney Compensation Plans, a comprehensive guide for attorneys who wish to compensate in a way that supports mission, values, and long-term vision and strategy. In this episode, we dive deep into the fact that recruiting and retaining associates in today's job market can be a true challenge. We will delve on the innovative approaches and best practices that law firms can implement to attract the best and brightest legal talent. At the end of our episode, I have prepared fun pop-up questions for our guests, so stay tuned. Well, ladies, welcome to Time for More Injury Funding podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, Brenda, let's start our conversation with you. You are a renowned author and consultant to the legal industry. As a CPA, you have led numerous law firm management teams working with small to mid-sized firms in Central Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to co-author your book?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having us on your podcast today. So my career path has been all about lawyers. I mean, I've started working at an 85 attorney firm in Austin, Texas, out of college as an accountant, and then moved into law firm management after that. I served as law firm administrator to small to mid-sized firms, which provided me, so I think, some vital in the trench training on what it took to manage a law firm. In 2008, I launched B2 Legal Management, which provided back office accounting and billing for firms who really didn't need a full-time person but needed the expertise of one. I sold that business to another CPA in 2021 and then have really focused my consultancy practice on customizing compensation systems, which of course typically includes succession planning. It was during that time that I met Camille, and I think it was after I gave a compensation webinar to a group of administrators, and we hit it off immediately, have similar passions about how we can help firms modernize their plans as well as other operating systems. And I guess what drove me to wanting to author this book was kind of feeling a void that seemed to be out there about expert knowledge about compensation systems that was all in one place, package. And Camille believe, attorney compensation is about respect. And to me, because I'm the CPA, I think it's a lot about numbers. And so a lot of what I talk about or typically talk about are the numbers piece of it. I think we look at not only overall firm profitability, but individual profitability as well. And with our compensation systems, we typically look at objective and subjective criteria, and that can be measured. So, with that, that's what's motivated me to author, this book the first time around. And then we're releasing our second edition, which is double the content, which will be coming out probably, I don't know, November so or so. So
Oh,
that,
congratulations.
thank you.
That's coming soon. Well, that's a beautiful story. So did you two become not just I imagine not just business partners but also friends?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. So, Camille, you are a consultant to law firms as well as a publisher of LM Press, a hybrid niche press publishing books by lawyers and other legal professionals. You are also a co-author of Designing a Succession Plan for Your Law Practice, a step-by-step guide for preparing your firm for maximum value. Please tell us about your journey of becoming a published book author.
Yes. like Brenda, have always worked in law firms. I've worked in roles such as paralegal, government relations, attorney recruiting, and business development and marketing. And with my consultant work, I really began to focus on lawyers who were entering sort of the last part of their career and didn't have a succession plan or really didn't know how to start succession planning. And so I got interested in the ideas of succession planning. And I'd always loved books. I'd always loved writing. And right before the pandemic, I had thought, well, this would be a great topic to write about, succession planning. So I started working on that. Not too long after that book was published is when the pandemic hit. And I was having some opportunities to consult with law firms on law firm compensation. And I felt like I just didn't have all the answers that I needed. And so, what I always do is try to find the book and try to find the person who can help me out.
Hmm.
And in this case, I found Brenda. As she said, she had taught a webinar, and I found it and listened to it. And then, doing one of my favorite things, I picked up the phone, I cold called her, introduced myself, and I think probably because we were in the pandemic, it really helped us to foster that relationship because we weren't going out and doing the normal things we were doing. So we just kept getting on the phone and talking about interests that we have and things like law firm compensation. And the idea for the book came together pretty quickly in our relationship and was a really fun project to work on.
It's amazing. And as much as, pandemic was terrible for so many of us, it made a lot of friendships last. I hear that not only from you, actually. I made myself a couple of relationships that, just literally came out of of pandemic, as well as some other attorneys and friends. That's amazing. So Brenda, let's try to understand the current landscape. Can you provide a brief overview of the current job market for legal professionals? What trends are you seeing in attorney recruitment and retention?
Oh, absolutely. I guess to start with the statistics, Thomson Reuters said that the class of 2023 law graduates achieved a 92.6% employment rate within 10 months, the highest that since 1974. However, indicators suggest a cooling job market for the subsequent classes with reduced recruitment efforts by law firms. So this impacts clearly recruitment and retention in law firms today. So what we are definitely seeing are several factors. Increased demand in certain practice areas. What will drive that are such things as cybersecurity law, environmental law, IP law, healthcare law. So law firms are looking for lawyers that can specialize in certain practice areas that they need. We're also seeing, hybrid work and flexibility. The post-pandemic shift toward hybrid work environments has, continued, and we're seeing more and more, offers of flexible work arrangements. Even though I think many of the firms are starting to kind of claw back some of their policies, but having said that, there is still a high demand for recruitment and retention, and what associates want versus what law firms are offering. So there's got to be some type of blend. We're also seeing a lot of focus on diversity and inclusion. Just non-equity promotions. You probably read all the buzz of, all the non-equity classifications, what's working in large law firms, what's not working, what's working in smaller firms. Um, you know, that is certainly something that we recommend is the different tiers of classifications for non-equity to equity partner. The other thing is lateral hiring. It's been on been on the rise for so long, but we're starting to see a little bit of a pause and decline in the amount of lateral hiring. Part of that is because the pool of lawyers with books of business is starting to slow way down. I guess, one of the big trends that we've seen here recently is offering bonuses for referrals. So if you refer in, a friend of yours or a colleague from law school, and they are hired, then you're paid a referral bonus, and that is one of the things that seems to be really trending right now to get colleagues that you want to work with, that you were friends with, to come join the firm and be part of your culture.
Amazing. Yes, I do see a lot of referral apps on literally apps and then social media sources. I think one I can't think of a name right now, but one group of attorneys that I know, a couple of them came up with this app where you receive an email and text notification, and if you like the case, you just grab it and then you submit it, and you just pay the referral fee, and you take it from there. Very interesting. Definitely, the climate is changing there.
Mm-hmm.
So back to you, Camille. What inspired you both to write Respect and Insight to Attorney Compensation Plans, and how does this book tie into the challenges law firms face today?
When some firms reach out to talk to consultants, sometimes they're not even sure what problem they're trying to solve. One of the things that I think a lot of law firm consultants will tell you is they really help law firms issue spot. Here are symptoms that we're seeing in our law firm. What do you think this is all about?
Mm-hmm.
Others come to us with very clear question. We need a compensation plan that works better. But a lot of the problems that law firms experience can be traced back to compensation plans that are either they're old, they were put together 30 years ago when the firm was formed. They haven't kept up with modern times, and they don't address what I would call kind of next generation workers, right? These folks who are uh, expecting more and different things out of the workplace, like more transparency, a different kind of life balance, something other than just monetary benefits. And it was Brenda's genius idea to use the title Respect. And as we really got into the content and really increase those, conversations with law firms, it's so easy to see how true that is, that your salary is not just a number, but for many people, it is the realization of the respect that your law firm has for you, or it can be what you perceive as a lack of respect
Mm-hmm.
from your law firm.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting, especially with the Gen Z, the newest generation. They see the world totally different from my generation, from your generation, from everybody, any previous generation. So times are definitely changing there. Brenda, what innovative strategies have you seen law firms implement to attract top legal talent in today's competitive market? Can you share any specific examples?
Sure, yeah. So, as we go through compensation design with our clients, we certainly go through a list of questions. We do some interviews with different, typically with the partners or key players. But the things that resonate time and time again are flexible and remote work policies. And to give you an example of that, Latham Watkins as an example, embrace the hybrid work model, offering attorneys the flexibility to work from home part of the week. That is a challenge for those of us that are trying to manage workloads and case allocations and that sort of thing. But I will say the impact is that your younger attorneys, particularly the millennials and Gen Z, they highly value that flexibility of doing their work when they need to do their work, and that really stands out in a competitive market. The other thing is just enhanced compensation and bonus structures, so it's not just work as hard as you can all year long, post your billable hours, and at the end of the year, you get some type of reward for that. There are as we said earlier, not only referral bonuses to help with recruitment and retention of lawyers, but also for when you have client retention and client relations, or get some type of reward for the client, that you do interim bonuses so that everybody feels like they're all working towards the same result and building that law firm culture. Another important aspect is career development and growth opportunities. Time and time again, especially when we talk to the associate attorneys, they wish they had more time with their partner mentor. They wish they had more time learning about the business of law. They wish they had more time, collaborating with the client and really being able to generate a result for them based upon that collaboration. So, they want to see more of extensive mentoring programs, leadership development. It's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody wants to go into management of a law firm, but certainly the more you can coach your associates, the better off they are going to be, and the better off your firm is going to be.
Mhm.
Diversity and inclusion initiatives. We saw Norton Rose, implement diversity scholarships, mentorship
I
programs.
love that.
Yeah, and it really has impacted, fostering that diverse workplace, which, when candidates are looking at your law firm to join and they see that that's the type of culture that you're building, they want to be part of it. One of the things, I guess, AI is the buzzword, right? Everybody's starting to figure out how they can use, ChatGPT and other AI products. But, being on the forefront of technology and legal innovation is really important to the workforce that you're interviewing right now. So, Wilson Sonsini, and for example, launched innovation hubs to attract tech-savvy lawyers that are interested in working in the intersection of law and technology. And it's those types of creativity that you put into your law firm, and it doesn't take a lot of time and effort to really expose the attorneys to this type of work-life balance and professional career development.
And thank you so much, Brenda, for mentioning mentoring. By the way, if we have any Georgia Association of Women Lawyers listeners, future lawyers, in the Georgia law school students or actual lawyers, we are still collecting money for the scholarships and funds. So please join Goal if you can, because we do offer amazing mentorship opportunities where you can talk to attorneys, call them at any times, and ask any questions. It's just an amazing opportunity for you to join Goal. Let's talk now about aligning conversations with law firm goals. How can Camille law firms design conversation structures that align with their goals? What key elements should be included in these discussions to engage potential recruits?
I think one of the key things is transparency. And that's a value of younger generations. And it's certainly going to be a concept that more established law firms are not comfortable with. Compensation has often been behind a black box, but so has, many other aspects of law firm life, such as, what is our law firm strategy? What does path to partnership look like? These are things that are not openly discussed in law firms. And so having transparency with those potential hires, and certainly once you've hired them as associates, providing them with clear pathways forward, using many of those tools that Brenda talked about, but showing them a path forward is really going to gain their trust early on and make them want to spend the time to invest with you.
Mhm.
Other things that I think are important are just recognizing that work-life balance, integration, whatever you want to call it, along with understanding flexibility in the workplace, is a real value that next generation lawyers like to talk about. for so much of the older generation of workers, the way you measured good work was often that you sat in a seat a certain number of hours a day, and you were, visible to the folks around you, and you could walk the hall as needed. And I think the pandemic has certainly shown us another way, but also just technology and the fact that these generations are digital natives. They've grown up with all the tools and resources, and they know how to use them to their advantage. And by ignoring those tools, ignoring that base of knowledge that those folks bring to your firm, you're really doing your law firm and your clients a disadvantage. Bring those ideas in and let them help you make the firm a more resilient and more modern law firm.
I love that. So, Brenda, based on your experience, what would you say? How important is the firm's culture in attracting new associates?
Well, it's critical. I mean, it's critical for attracting associates, your staff, and retaining your partners. So, one of the things that we talk to our clients a lot about is, when you're modernizing your compensation system, what are your strategic objectives? What is your culture? Because your compensation system can either drive your culture or your culture can drive your compensation system. So, it's really important that you spend some time on the touchy-feely stuff, if you will, about what it takes to build that culture that people want to belong to. And we've already talked about work-life balance, flexibility, diversity and inclusion. All of those things are great. Professional development and mentorship, we've talked about that. It's important that you put some investment in long-term career growth for your lawyers, not only through making them better lawyers, but also giving them opportunities to foster leadership responsibilities. Talk about the business of law and what it takes to run a business. Collaboration and collegiality. I know it's really easy for us just to walk next door to the office of the associate that we like to work with all the time, but really make that effort to walk down the hall and embrace other people into the types of cases and matters that you're working on. Allow your associates to be a little innovative, and work with them, and try to be open to legal technology changes that are coming at us at lightning pace. And I'll say lastly, what we have seen is just purpose and social responsibility. The millennials and Gen Z generations are increasingly focused on purpose-driven work. They want to emphasize corporate social responsibility. They want to see the firms doing pro bono work, environmental sustainability. They want to align their workplace with their personal values. And so they will pay a lot of attention to what a law firm is doing, so that to attract candidates that align with those visions as well.
These are such important key points that you just made, Brenda. Thank you for that. Camille, what practices can firms adopt to cultivate a positive and inclusive work environment?
One of the things that I've heard some speakers say when they're talking about diverse environments is, it's one thing to be invited to the event. It's another to be asked to participate. So not only do you have to have programs or committees or platforms to embrace diversity and inclusion and equity in your law firms, but you have to actually engage people to participate in those. I think two keys to think about are you must be intentional in your exercises and you must be consistent in your exercises. So whether it's to form a committee to do something, maybe to establish some procedures or to engage in some more open, inclusive conversations. It's not enough to put a committee together. You actually need to make sure that they meet and they communicate with the firm on what they're doing and that these are consistent conversations. So I think being intentional about your work and then being consistent in that work will go a long way to helping firms see the change that they hope to get.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned committee, I thought of the Office, the show. It just made me
Yes,
laugh inside, Michael with the committees.
right.
So how can law firms balance base salary, bonuses, and benefits to create a compensation package that is appealing to potential hires? Brenda.
Yeah, so that's the magic bean, isn't it? How to balance it all. We recommend balancing the base salary, bonuses, and benefits, uh, and aligning with the values and the needs of potential hires. So, we customize, definitely the compensation package based upon those needs and kind of the culture, as we spoke about, of the firm. You want a competitive base salary, right? We call it their street rate. What will it take to retain that attorney, so they don't go shop, for a better base salary? So you want to pay them what they're worth, what the market is experiencing, and then you want to, build in incentive-based bonuses, right? So we always, hear about the performance-based bonuses. Here, we hear build this many hours and you'll get this, and maybe there's different tiers that you may. Those are great. I mean, I unfortunately grew up, in law firms, and my whole life, right? So I was that person that was expected to be at work on Saturdays so that the managing partner of the law firm would see us in the office in the accounting department,
Mm,
making sure that things were done. So you want to try to build in incentive-based bonuses that don't promote burnout, right? So you
mhm,
want to make sure that you've got reasonable bonuses. And then, as I mentioned earlier, discretionary bonuses based upon successes. Maybe one of your attorneys landed a new great client for the firm. Maybe, they are the president now of the bar association, and they're doing, great things for the bar community. You want to be able to show some appreciation through discretionary bonuses. The other thing is, comprehensive benefits, very important to all of us, right? Health and wellness, flexible work arrangement, family support benefits. The recruits will be looking to see how you feel about, or how your firm stands on offering parental leave policies, because many of them will be eventually taking care of their parents and needing to show that support to their family. Where do you stand on fertility benefits, on child support care? Where do you stand? All of those things that are important to the recruits that are coming in, should be in part of your comprehensive benefit package. The other thing that you want to really work with them on is retirement and financial planning. A lot of the new generation is coming into firms. They get Roth IRAs and
mhm.
401ks and all that stuff, and they know, but they've got a huge student loan to repay, and then they're working toward that path to partnership, and then they're going to have this huge, possibly huge equity buy-in to become, an equity partner in the law firm. So you want to, help them with retirement and financial planning. And then I guess, transparency, we've talked about that. What are their long-term career developments? So, I like to always encourage law firms to not just do evaluations one time a year, but have an ongoing conversation about initiatives and things that the associates want to do, not only personally, professionally, but also personally, so that you understand kind of their mark in life and where they're headed, so that you can support that. And you just want to be able to, address, the different things that are going to motivate them. And we're starting to see, even though I have not implemented one, some different types of compensation packages. So in other words, maybe one group of attorneys is on a path that's high productive, want to make money. I'm going to be doing this. And then you have another that really wants to own multiple businesses and also be a lawyer and does, that sort of thing. So you're going to start seeing, I think, more diverse compensation offerings from law firms to try to retain and recruit that talent as we move through this process.
Great ideas. Love them all. And now let's investigate monetary versus non-monetary incentives. Camille, in your experience, how do monetary incentives compare to non-monetary benefits like work-life balance, professional development opportunities in attracting and retaining new associates?
I think balance is just the right word for that. You've got to have both. There are certainly generational differences that come into play. And I think we're seeing a swing where younger generations are interested in the salary, like the number matters to them. For a while, I think folks would have said, "Oh, I'd rather take benefits over salary." But I think when you look at things like inflation and stagnant wages, the money does make a difference. But it's that blend of having a benefits that really address people. And so I think the best way for firms to create their benefit package is ask their folks what's important to you and what do you value. One of the law firms that we interviewed for this second edition of the compensation book is a lawyer named Brian King who practices in Western North Carolina. And, he said school debt is just one of the continuing conversations he has with his associates. And so he's implemented a school debt, repayment opportunity
Okay.
where he makes a contribution that goes, directly towards their school debt. And so I think that that's very creative, and I've not heard of another firm doing that. And I just think that you are only limited by your own creativity.
Mhm.
So, see what other firms are doing, and implement and see what other businesses are doing. Often law firms are the last to implement something new. So look and see what other companies are doing. I know there was a time when there were a lot of offerings in big law firms, things that would make your life easier so that you could spend more of it in the office, right? Like we'll have your
Cleaning.
professional cleaning, delivered to
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
office for you, or we'll subsidize meals, or we'll have a cafeteria. Today, I hear people talk about things like offering pet insurance
Okay.
programs,
I haven't heard that one yet.
or right, or additional days off,
Oh, that sounds
beyond the
amazing.
regular plan, so that you do feel like you can take your kids to the park on a particularly beautiful day, or
Mhm.
be involved at some school event. So ask your folks. I think we're getting to the period of time where lots of things are going to be personalized. And I think compensation and benefit packages are one of those. Brenda was alluding to it when she was talking about having in one law firm perhaps multiple compensation plans and options. And I think we'll see that with benefits. Maybe a firm will offer a menu and your employees will be able to choose various things from that menu.
Oh, I love that idea.
Mhm,
Amazing.
mhm.
Um, I want to touch on transparency and equity. Brenda, why is transparency in compensation practices crucial for law firms? What strategies can firms implement to ensure equitable pay practices?
Yeah, so I mean, transparency. We've been talking about it. It's crucial because it fosters trust the fairness of what's going on, and it gives you an overall employee, satisfaction. You want to eliminate the uncertainties about what's going on with everybody's pay. So, one of the very first things that we typically talk with the clients is, what is your path to partnership? Is that communicated? How do you communicate that? Do they understand? And do they understand their financial responsibilities in relation to that? So you want to, build that trust for, each of the different tiers that you have. And then you want to talk about how to promote and reduce pay gaps, right? So, transparency helps address gender, racial, and other forms of pay inequities by making it clear how compensation decisions are structured. You're going to want to, implement, pay audits, looking and making sure that things are being treated equitably, and that you have a commitment to ensuring that there is a transparency around the system. All of that is being, paid attention, if you will, by the law firm recruits. I mean, they are wanting to see law firms that have a clear and transparent path to partnership. What is expected of me? What do you want me to do as far as productivity, so that I understand and can meet those goals? We've kind of got away from the lockstep, but there's still going to be salary bands for different levels of experience and practice areas and positions within the firm. And you need to publish those, in my opinion. It's not the black box anymore. There's not something, if you're wanting everyone to treat this as a business and a service to the law firm client, you really need to integrate them into your process and make them understand, what it means to run that business.
Mm.
Looking at benchmarks, I think most everybody probably looks at, salary surveys and compensation benchmarks to make sure what's going on. But it's really being on a constant hunt of what is going on in the market to continue to modernize your compensation and your benefit package, and then being transparent about it and having those communications. It's really easy for us to kind of fall back into the old ways of thinking, and kind of hoarding that information, in that Excel spreadsheet or whatever, however you do your comp plan. But that's not associate recruitment and retention ways of the future anymore.
Very interesting. Camille, what are some effective strategies for measuring employee satisfaction and engagement within law firms based on your experience? How can this data inform or relate, to retention efforts?
I think firms in the past have often not engaged in these conversations the way they should. And I think there are multiple ways to do it. One is anonymous surveys. People are probably more willing to tell you how they really feel if they know that you're going to protect their privacy. So send out, easy electronic anonymous surveys. One-on-one check-ins. We don't sit down with people face to face often enough. And so just checking in and seeing how they're doing, what's their feedback, what's bothering them, what's their challenge, but also encouraging them, giving them compliments, thanking them for the work they do, right? Make these positive conversations. I think exit interviews when employees leave is extremely important. I think it's, easy to say, oh, they just left because somebody down the road is going to pay them a little more money. And it's rare that someone is going to leave for just a small amount of money.
Mhm.
Usually there's something else going on. And what you might hear is a same message repeated over and over. That lets you know you've got something inside the firm you need to change. Focus groups, and feedback groups, get a couple of people in the room to have a conversation. And I know you don't want these to devolve into just, gripe sessions, but often there's a little bit of comfort in numbers. And so having a few people around the table can be helpful. And then finally, keeping an eye on your key performance indicators around your employees. So look at things like absenteeism, work product, uh, turnover rates. And if those don't look good for you, you need to figure out why.
Very, very good points. Brenda, how should law firms adapt their compensation plans to meet an evolving market demands nowadays? What are some indicators that a firm should look for when considering adjustments?
Well, I mean, you continuously improve your compensation plan. And I'm not saying, could change the game plan itself, but you definitely want to always be looking at your plan and making sure that you are motivating the behaviors that you want to get in your results. And the results is typically profits per partner, right? So you want to be able to look at your compensation plan and make sure that you're definitely motivating those factors. Some of the things I think that we have seen are just, again, alternative paths to partnership. Not everybody wants to be an equity partner. And honestly, they're kind of getting top heavy in a lot of the mid-sized firms where there are too many equity partners there, which is why they've created and they created this non-equity classification long ago, but it's certainly become really fast moving here in the last few years. But you want to make sure that you understand that not everybody wants to be an owner of the law firm and put in a capital contribution and be part of part of that piece of it. So you want to be able to offer them different roles and paths to partnership. And if that is the non-equity role, then it's the non-equity role. You also want to make sure that you are giving some rewards to their non-billable contributions. It's a very important. Not everybody's a rainmaker, right? Not everybody originates business, but you certainly need to reward those that do originate business because obviously that's how we keep the lights on at the end of the day. But you also want to reward some of the non-billable investments. Now that's a a little bit of a balance because what might be important to associate A is not important to associate B, and it might not be important to the firm at all. So an example would be serving on a board of director of some nonprofit that really is committing a lot of time that associate's taken away from the office. So you really want to have good marketing and strategic plans for each individual in your firm. You also, want to be, transparent, equitable compensation practices. Like we do regular pay equity audits to ensure that our commitment to fairness is critical, and that if we need to make some changes, we will. What Camille said earlier, communication and feedback loops. You want to make sure that you're fostering that open communication. You want to be able to tailor to the individual needs. You want to be able to address work-life balance. It's a lot, but firms that really will dial in to their compensation system and make it adjustments as needed will retain that talent that they need, that they're so desperately seeking.
I love your thoughts on this. Absolutely. What common concerns do associates have regarding compensation and career growth, and how can firms address these concerns proactively? Camille or Brenda, either of you, if you want to answer this question.
Yeah, I think one thing that we haven't talked about yet today that comes up very frequently in associate conversations is attorney succession plans,
Mhm.
particularly for sort of mid-career attorneys. They look at the leadership in the room and they see folks who've been practicing for 40 and 50 years and they wonder when their chance is going to come.
Mhm.
And for firms that neglect to put succession planning plans into place, who neglect to have direct conversations about that, that's when you will see that exit of those middle grade attorneys, right? You might be able to keep young folks around for a while, and then you've got a lot of senior lawyers, but all this wonderful talent in the middle just keeps moving on, and it's because there's not a clearly defined retirement plan or exit strategy for the firm. And
Mhm.
so I think that's really, it may be unique to this period of time. I'm not sure that future generations are going to want to work for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hard to imagine.
right? Or they may have three careers in a really long, period of work life. So some of this is going to end as baby boomers continue to retire. But those boomers want to hang on, and it's to their detriment.
And now I want to talk about the future trends and impact of remote work, because we've been talking about remote work quite a bit lately. Camille, how has the rise of remote work influenced recruitment and retention strategies in the legal industry? Are there specific practices that firms should adopt to accommodate this shift?
So one great thing is it's really expanded the worker pool. You don't have to just find someone who can work who's in your community, right? There's great talent everywhere. So I think it really gives employers a lot of opportunity to reach out and find good talent. And then for the talent pool, you should feel the same way. I'm not just limited to, the top law firm that's in my neighborhood. I can really expand my look and my search for that great job. Um, I know that firms have concerns about people not sitting in the room. And so you can address that with good onboarding. You can have plans about, having in-person work days. At my company, for example, every quarter, we're doing set days where everyone shows up in the office at the same time. And we're trying to turn that into collaborative work opportunities as well as fun. So we typically have like an employee all meeting, where we'll get a firm update, and then we'll all have lunch together, and maybe we'll do a team building event in the afternoon. And so these are ways that you can still meet people, interact with people, but get that collaboration that you need. And then there's just so many good collaboration tools that we can use. I find myself getting on team calls with other members of my organization, just to have a conversation that's going to go a lot faster than multiple emails. So look at it as a positive experience. It gives you more opportunity to find the best talent available, and that there are tools that you can use to help you manage this hybrid workforce.
Mhm. And if you, Camille, need any tips on team building activities, let me know. I have so many of them,
Oh, good.
especially with this holiday season coming up. The Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and everything else. So let me
Oh,
know.
excellent. I'd love to hear more about those.
Okay. What role, Brenda, does diversity and inclusion play in attracting the best legal talent? How can law firms enhance their diversity recruitment efforts?
Yeah, so this topic is near and dear to our hearts. We actually devote a whole chapter in the book to diversity and inclusion. A lot of women initiatives, how origination credit is given out, and that sort of thing. So to speak to, the diversity recruitment efforts, you know, the generating a diverse and inclusive workplace not only enhances your reputation, but it leads just higher employee satisfaction, innovation, and retention. You can attract a much broader talent pool by having some D&I initiatives in place. And you want to do this, and you have to do this consciously. I mean, you have to have a commitment by the leadership of the law firm. You have to have a commitment by the partners. This is not just lip service that we have a diversity and inclusion program. This is what we live and breathe. And when you live and breathe it, you will start to see that your law firm is perceived as one of the places to go work. And the younger attorneys, like the millennials and Gen Z, et cetera, I mean, they prioritize that inclusive work environment. So you want to have, an improved firm reputation by doing so. You want to meet your client expectations. I mean, clients take a look at the diversity of the team that's being assigned to their case, and they want to see that law firms are really focusing on broadening their job recruitment and retention policies to ensure that they have got a very diverse, workplace. Going, targeted recruitment and outreach while going to law schools, minority organizations, talking to the National Bar Association, the Hispanic National Bar Association. We reference a whole lot the Minority Corporate Counsel Association, that's a division of the ABA. They have a ton of information on how you can implement diversity programs inside your firm to ensure that you're kind of busting up, is what we call it, some of the implicit diversity issues that are going on, because it's easy for, and as Camille said earlier, as the baby boomers are moving out of the firm, I think we'll see much less of this, because I think that a lot of the old guard is still hanging on to a lot of the ways we've always done it, that sort of thing. But similarly, as the new generation takes over leadership of the firms, they need to be really, really mindful and of how they do their hiring practices, how they reward origination credit, how they put different people on pitch teams, and that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I think, diversity inclusion, again, we've devoted a whole, and you could probably do a whole book on it or multiple books on it. Everything from the tall poppy syndrome, which I had never heard of before until here recently, to just making sure that that there is a mentor for everyone in your firm. So if there is any type of issues, that there is a way to respond to those issues.
Okay. So finally, what is one piece of advice you both, Brenda and Camille, would give to law firm leaders looking to improve their recruitment and retention strategies?
Say collaborate with everyone in your firm. If you value all of your team members, then their appreciation for the firm is going to show. And when people are interning with you or interviewing with you for those attorney positions, they're going to see that. So, have a culture that values teamwork and collaboration.
I love
And
it.
I would say focus on creating a culture of inclusion and professional development. So I think inclusivity drives retention, making sure that people feel part of the team, part of the process, and that will help empower them to help you grow your law firm.
This is so great. I hope this episode about recruiting and retaining associates in today's job market, along with innovative approaches and best practices that law firms can implement to attract the best and brightest legal talent, was interesting, informative, and educational. And as mentioned, here's a fun pop questions for you, my dear ladies. You ready?
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 Okay, Camille, if you could have a conversation with any animal, which one would you choose and what would you ask them?
So, Laura, I have a cat. Her name is
Oh,
Gracie.
oh.
And I would ask her, why does she love her dad so much more than me when I take such good care of her? She is finicky as can be, and she has a favorite person. So that would be my question.
Oh, Gracie. Gracie needs to meet Elvis Presley, which is my cat. They would make a
That
good couple.
would be nice.
That's funny.
And Brenda, what is the best piece of career advice you would give to someone just starting out in your profession?
Oh gosh. Learn great communication skills because you're talking to lawyers, and they are great communicators. They're critical thinkers, so build up a thick skin so that you can, take your recommendations to task. And high organizational skills, being able to stay on top of their business. I typically tell a room full of administrators, know their numbers. You know their numbers, you have power. So if you're not a numbers person, get some coaching, find out who can help you with that because they really need to be able to trust the integrity of the data that's coming out of their software and the systems and the reports that they have. So that's what I would say.
Ladies, that was an amazing time spent with you today. If anyone needs your professional help and is looking for one of your, both of your expertise, how can they reach you? Do you have a website, social media resources, emails, phone numbers?
Yes, so connect on LinkedIn, and lawyersmutualconsulting.com is my website. Camille at lawyersmutualconsulting.com is my email address, and the book is available on Amazon.
Mhm.
Yeah. So my website is brenda-barnes.com, and definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. And my email address is bbarnes, so bbarnes at unanchoredjourney.com because this is my second or third shift into what I'm doing. So I'm unanchored.
Amazing. That again was Camille and Brenda, the co-authors of book titled Respect and Insight to Attorney Compensation Plans. I want to thank you all for listening and watching our episode today. For more tips and tricks on legal funding and personal injury, law and medicine related topics, follow me, download, like, and subscribe for It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast on several platforms, including Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all others worldwide. And follow More Injury Funding on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, Google Business Profile, and my website at moreinjuryfunding.com. I can't wait to see you and hear you again soon. Until then, be well. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.